Have you ever found yourself in a situation of complete breakdown, exhaustion, and impasse? For me, that was beginning of 2014 when I quit my job in Monaco. I moved to Nice, and suddenly I realized that I was completely emotionally, physically, mentally, and all the possible levels exhausted, that I could only sleep nonstop for the first 6 months. After the first 6 months, I was getting up literally just to eat for a little bit, and then I was going back in bed. It was complete shutdown for my whole body. And then after the 6 months, for another 2 months, I was able to get out of the house just for a few hours. And then I was going back to home, and I was literally crashing in bed, like sleeping again for very long hours again, because I was exhausted physically. And it wasn't until 8 months after I stopped working when I start slowly feeling myself again. It was super slow period of physical recovery. Years later, I realized that that was a severe case of burnout. You're most probably thinking right now, how is it possible someone to be such a workaholic that they can burn out from work? Well, I was. I'm a living proof that there are such workaholics out there in the world. From 2011 to 2014, I was a director in one of the three largest companies in the oil and gas business in the world. And the headquarter was in Monaco. My team was doing digital transformations in the offices in Europe, Asia, North America, South America, and Africa, all the possible time zones in the world. And because of the time difference, um, I I literally slept for 3 to 4 hours a night. At that time, I was suffering from that syndrome of the workaholics code, promising something and doing everything to fulfill it. So after working for, what is it, 2011, 2014, 3 years, sleeping 3 to 4 hours a night, around the clock, literally, we put our heads on the table that we will be able to implement the software and change the daily lives of all the employees of the companies. I'm talking about thousands of people. And we did it. We succeeded. But the cost was super high for personal health. If you've ever been or currently are in a situation where, because of work, you don't know what day it is of the week and you don't give a at all. If you don't remember if you ate and you don't feel hungry either. If everything happens and you're in a slow motion film, that's how it feels like. And you realize that it's you in the film, but it's like moving and breathing shadow of you, like another version of you. The only important thing right now is to meet all the deadlines of work. If those four things are happening in your life, you've got a big chance right now to go through a burnout phase in your life. Back to my story, my problem was much deeper than physical exhaustion. When my body finally started recovering physically, I realized that it would take much longer time than 8 months in total to regain my emotional and my mental balance. In fact, life offered me something else, and I grabbed it with both hands. I was so desperate, I can tell you. My life offered me to choose a completely different way of thinking and perceiving life, with which I would feel valuable and fulfilled internally, regardless of all the external factors. That was the beginning of my very conscious awakening, my awareness process, and my wise up journey. What followed was beyond any kind of expectations I had about life. But to go back, after the initial 6 months of sleeping all the time, I did a couple of attempts to start again social life, having some kind of a life. And on the first one, I met Melanie, an American lady. I love it to bits. She was studying for a life coach at that time, and she needed a guinea pig to practice on. And I needed to completely rebirth and have completely new awareness in life. I had to wise up. So I was with two hands in, like, I'm gonna be your guinea pig. So I was with her, and I was constantly asking myself the question, like, what do I want to do? And I only knew what I don't want. And gosh, the list was long. Like, what I didn't want to do in my life anymore was like a long list, but I couldn't answer that question. What do I want to do? Like, what do I want to do for work and for living and for anything? It was like no answers. So we started after the 8 months. We started working with Melanie by the sea from Nice to Villefranche-sur-Mer 3 times a week, 21 kilometers back and forth from Nice to Villefranche-sur-Mer. And Melanie taught me life practices. She was practicing on me how to ask the right questions and how to change my thinking. I will stop the story again. Imagine for a moment the digital transformation director who has the strong need to control, trying to learn how to drop that need to control. Corporate life was so deeply embedded in me at that time that my brain couldn't feel and couldn't tell the difference between control and the need for control. Every spiritual teacher at that time, back in 2014, was talking about letting go and trusting your higher self and following your intuition and trusting that everything is divine design, to concentrate on the energy work and become the observer, watching things happen rather than controlling them to happen. I could understand what they are explaining. It sounds to me like a really nice current, like a nice flow, like living effortlessly. But when I wanted to apply it in my own life, something didn't work out for me. It was like constantly hitting the wall. That was exactly how I can explain what was happening. So every time when I was like, I got it, I finally understood, it's like, boom, I was hitting a new wall. So for years after 2014, that one sense of impasse was multiplied every time I was between different contracts, to work contracts, and I was watching my money melting away from the account and monthly bills demanding to be paid as always. It was difficult for me to apply what I was told by spiritual gurus in my own life. How could I stop controlling things in my work when my job was to know what is going on, when is going to happen, who is going to do it? How could I not be angry when I was seeing a problem daily and people around me doing nothing about it? How come the others remain so calm? And I felt like I want to scream right now. Like, was it just me of seeing this? Like, this is a problem. So about 2 years after my burnout, I promised myself that one day when I find the key to a balanced life, when I find the key, that harmony that everyone is talking about, I would share that with others to save them from all these wanderings and the feeling of being in a maze and there is no way out, and it's like constantly hitting new dead ends. It was just constantly going into one maze and jumping from one maze to another maze. Over the years, I got new wise up realizations and glimpses of the awareness of how much we have and still have to work here on earth until we understand awareness in the full potential. Over time, to the techniques that I learned from my walks in Nice and Melanie, I added those teachings from the quantum physics and the neuroscience I learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza and from the rest of the scientists. I was reading publications from medical journals that are not yet taught in universities. In 2019, I became a student of Dr. Joe Dispenza. Till today, I'm so proud of that work. I'm part of all the international groups where we heal people with all kinds of illnesses. And I am so proud of all our group work, and I thank you so much for all of you. And thanks, big thanks to Dr. Joe Dispenza for giving us this knowledge and practices. Then I started teaching meditations, and I quickly found that if a person does not start from the beginning, from the awareness of what stops and blocks them, from internal roots, from the core, no matter what kind of meditation techniques they apply, sooner or later they will reach that blockage and will not be able to continue through the wiser process and go on the other side. At the beginning of 2023, my Reiki master initiated me in the first level. And on day 2 of the initiation process, she turned around and she said, "It's time to start teaching people everything you know." And my answer was, "You don't even know what you're asking me to do." So her answer to that was, "This was not my message. It was from your spiritual guides." Now, I cried that day. I remember my promise and how I kept finding so many different excuses not to even start. And it wasn't until I passed level 2 Reiki back in May 2023 when I opened my classes to the public. Before, they were all for my friends, for people I know personally. But after May 2023, I opened them publicly. And if you work with energy, you know from experience that you can't find peace until you take that path of your destiny, your life mission, to start following daily your higher self, your awareness, and everything what your intuition tells you on a daily basis. If it sounds too much woo-woo, that's okay. Just know that I am very down to earth person. I need everything to make sense and to be logical. That's why I love so much neuroscience and quantum physics, because everything makes sense and I can explain things to the most people. Due to lack of knowledge, people believe that something is too spiritual or sounds too mystical, or mystical experience doesn't exist. That's okay. Go and study the quantums and neuroscience. You're going to change your opinion of what is mystical nowadays in the universe. So now let me tell you this. Part of me will always be the digital and the social media nerd, the digital transformation director, the professional speaker I became since 2017, and I've been on more than 400 stages so far. Part of me will stay to be the former coach for TEDx speakers who help more than 6 million, now most probably 7 million people around the world to watch the TEDx talks of my mentees. The difference between me and the others in my industry is that I'm okay being judged and called names that are not nice. I got rid of my unhealthy ego back in 2014, so that's perfectly fine. If you think that everything what I was saying is too much woo, that's perfectly fine. I'm not for you, and everything what I say is not for you. And yeah, you're not gonna like quantum physics. You're not gonna like neuroscience. What's more important for me is to help others to feel good in their own skin, to know how to return to inner balance, to inner peace, to harmony. When the world outside is a chaos, to be able to tap into that inner balance and inner harmony and feel the peace, feel the freedom, and breathe that freedom. That's why it is time to share the techniques that help me to get out of the maze and live a very conscious life in peace and love towards everything and everyone. The last thing, I am constantly asked about spiritual and material. When implementing the techniques I give at my Wise Up course, you stop choosing between spiritual and material. You have both. And that gives you the urge to always ask for more of both. It will be always of both, the spiritual and the material together. We don't have to choose one or the other anymore. We live in 21st century. Do I have answers to all the questions? No, absolutely not. But I can lead you out of the maze by guiding you and showing you the shortcuts that are going to take you to the way out and to show you the world outside the maze. I can lead you inwards and show you the infinite world that lives inside you. It's the door to the void. It's the door to the universe that lives inside you. The Wise Up course is a 14-day program where I share practices, tools, and techniques. We have a lot of fun, but all these techniques help me not only in that situation of the burnout and the letting go, but in so many different situations of depression later on, of a lot of fear I've been going on in the past, of wandering in new mazes, wandering around new mazes that life threw me into, and seeing new dead ends that led to new Wise Up moments. If I can save you that time to wander around the maze and hitting dead ends, I would love, love, love to do that for you. I know that each tool's techniques and meditations and practices, they all work and have the potential to change your life for better. I don't just want to teach you. I want to use the power of experiencing the practice with you. That's why I sit with you for 14 days and I go through the whole practice together. I hold your hand to go through the practice together. So when you sit with me for 14 days and dare to go inside, you can change your entire life. I am going to leave the link for the next Wise Up course in the text for this video. I'll be so super happy to have you in the group and part of the Wise Up course so I can help you to wise up your life. I love you all. And yes, I'm going to see you in the Wise Up course.